it's very much operational challenges today. So it's to say, okay, how do you find the people? How do you onboard the people?
This love that reaches to my heart feels so good.
Today, I have the pleasure to welcome in the studio Tom Michels from Salonkee. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So Salonkee has made big headlines in Luxembourg because it's one of the first company based in Luxembourg who raised recently 28 million euro. It was already the third fundraising that they did for a total of 35 million. So let's just jump right into it. Can you describe what Salonkee does in a few words?
So at Salonkee, we do two things. On the one side, we have a booking platform where you can find and book your hairdresser, beauty, massage, or wellness studio, and then you book it online in a couple of clicks. And then on the other side, we have a software for the salon to manage his business, meaning it's a digital agenda, it's a point of sale system, it's marketing, newsletters, can also be payments or loyalty points. And with that, they can manage their whole business from A to Z in an all-in-one solution.
Okay, so that sounds really simple. But when I looked at your metrics, I found out that you already have 4,000 clients in 5 countries. The idea sounds really simple. I mean, I guess you can have competitors all over the world. So take me through the steps from the idea to taking such a big position in 5 countries.
Indeed, the idea started even simpler. So none of the co-founding team is coming from the industry. We just didn't want to call anymore for an appointment. So we came from the B2C side, and we said, let's build a platform to book your appointments online. And then the more and more we worked on it and we're talking to potential customers, we realized that there's a big software gap also on the salon side to manage their business. And so we kept extending the product from the agenda to the point of sale and to all the features that we have today. And one of the challenges is then, if you have the software, how do you bring it to the customer? Because it's not the most tech-savvy industry. So that's also one of the challenges to scale it, is to have field sales, people on the ground in different countries that visit the salons and that help them go from paper to digital.
Okay, so let's go back again. The idea started what, 2016?
2017 we had the first customer, and 15, 16 is where we had the idea.
Okay, so let's go there, because you know there are many startups, very few big successes, very few heroes, and I think you're on the right track with 35 million already raised to become one of those role models for the new startups of Luxembourg. So you've got this idea 2016. Do you start coding or do you raise money?
No, we started going to salons and talk with them. So we were not from the industry, we had no idea. We know that we wanted to book online. And so we went to the salons with pen and paper. We said, here's an agenda, how it could look like for you on a tablet, what do you think? We learned about the industry and then we coded in parallel. So basically during the day I was with salons, and in the night I was coding with our CTO on the product. And that we've done it like for a year almost without raising any money. It was really just out of university. We said, let's give it a try. We see how it works. So we didn't have to pay anything. It was just coding and visiting salons.
Okay,
and
so
then,
investing your own time, basically.
Yeah, it was, you invest time. You don't invest money, you invest time to see if it actually works. And since we had, of the 5 co-founders, 2 that could code, so me and the CTO, it was enough to get the first prototype in the market and to get the first salon to use it.
And you were doing this full time?
Yeah, so not everybody of the 5 was full time initially. It was 3 full time and 2 not yet. And we said, let's give it a shot. Because after university, you don't have necessarily high cost of living. You don't have a loan, a house, a car necessarily. So just like, you're used to live on a low budget from student life. I was just like, let's give it a try now. It's a good opportunity to do it straight after university. Rather than maybe when you have kids and a house to pay off or whatever. And we just said, let's give it a shot. And then we basically never stopped working on it.
So that's already for me a massive surprise. I think it's the first time in more than a decade that I hear people spending a year without raising money, at least from family, friends, and fools. So congratulations for that. So you start coding, and then you say a year after or so, you sign your first client. So yes. How much is he paying you?
It's like 100 euros a month.
Okay,
so it doesn't pay the bills.
So you're not rich yet, but you believe that now that you sent an invoice, there is potential. So from there, step 2, what do? Do you raise money or do you just accelerate your own efforts?
So then we said, okay, we have one customer, two customers, three. So we still kept going because I think it's generally hard to raise money if you don't have at least some revenue and some customers. Here in Europe, maybe more than in the US. So we kept going for another 1.5 years, almost 2 years, until end of 2018. We had around 80 customers, and that's when we raised our seed round of 1 million.
Okay, so 80 customers, so more or less 8,000 euro a month recurring fee, and you managed to get 1 million at a valuation of?
That I cannot disclose.
Okay,
but,
that's a very good valuation.
Yes.
Did you already get Ferber or this kind of group at the time?
At that point, we didn't work with any big chains yet. We have chains of 2 or 3 salons that we worked with. We had our first couple customers in Belgium. So we showed that we were able to also open up a new market. And then from there, the pitch to investors was to say, what we've done in Belgium here, in Luxembourg here, salons seem to love it. They stick around with it. We see the same interest in Belgium, but we need more money to accelerate. And that was the pitch to investors.
So that's the second lesson for me. Before you raised the first euro, you were already trying to go multi-market.
Yes, and we kind of had to. I think Luxembourg, it's an advantage and disadvantage at the same time. So it's small, it's a good test market, but you have to go abroad early. Going to a new country kind of slows you down. You have new legislations, new languages. You have to create a new company if you employ people there. So you have kind of the burden quite early if you go international. But then today it's a big advantage because we are in 5 countries where other companies have a harder time to open up new countries. We are already internationalized very early and kind of cheaply, because if you go international and you make all the mistakes early, they are much cheaper than if you go in with 100 people at the same time and then you see it doesn't work and you have to scale back, and it's a different process. Yeah,
and again, this is a third very big lesson. And I've been here for a long time. I'm thinking about great teams like Envision, for example. You know, I talked to them in 2008 when they were thinking about making a payment system, and you know what it became, the DigiCash. And of course, the idea was to go international, and that was where the project got big difficulties. It became a Luxembourg solution. So what you did basically was, even before you raised money, you were going to Arlon, I guess, or maybe Trier, or maybe Thionville, just to solve all those internationalization issues before you went to investors.
So we had just like a handful of salons in Belgium, and some were referred from a salon in Luxembourg that knew somebody in Belgium. But it certainly helps to raise funds to say our vision is not Luxembourg, because otherwise it's hard to raise funds. And we had a couple proof points that it also works abroad.
Exactly. If you can make 5, you can make 50. And
exactly.
So fantastic. So you get 1 million. How long did it last? How did it go?
Yeah. So we get 1 million. Everybody comes full time. We hire our first sales teams. We open up Belgium with the company and everything there. And from there, it took us about 1.5, 2 years. And basically, we ran out of money during the COVID times. So also that was not the best timing. But we made really good progress with that money. We scaled our revenue to over 1 million with the 1 million that we raised. And from there, we went on to raise our Series A. And that's the first time that international investors came in. So the seed round was the Luxembourg Business Angels and the Digital Tech Fund with Expon Capital. And then for the Series A, usually you find that money, you don't find it here in Luxembourg. So we had the Belgian VC, a Dutch VC, and a Swiss VC that invested in our 6 million Series.
So you get Expon in the seed round?
Yes.
Okay, that's going to be another lesson. Wow, this is a big surprise. So deck must have been really, really good.
I guess I was good, but I think it's important, or it's good to have a VC very early in the process.
Yes.
Because they help you guide on what does it take to get to the next step. They see a lot of pitch decks, they see a lot of companies, and they can give you valuable feedback on what does it take to raise a Series A later. So I think that was good.
Indeed. And before we go to the next step, I think it's the right time to talk about the team. Talk about the founders, because and talk about what they bring. You said 2 can code. What can the others do?
So yeah, we knew each other from before we started the project. So with some I went to high school, some I met at university, and some met some other university. So we were 5. The good thing is I think we all brought different skill sets to the team, and we also today have just very different responsibilities, and I think which is why it works so well. So Andre, our CTO, is coding. Alex, who is our head of sales for all countries together, so he's managing the sales teams. Samuel is the CFO on the finance side, and Gilberto is on the recruitment and HR side, because recruitment is a very important topic for us to scale the team now to over 120 people, and we look for 200, 300 people over the next years. So recruitment is also a very key topic for us.
And that is really exciting. Again, I've seen many startups, and we are very close to Loft, to host also. And it's very rare that I see a team which looks straight from a deck from California. You know, the perfect five, everyone does exactly one thing. And I understand why Expand was seduced. I've seen some private equity or venture capitalists invest in people even when they did not believe in the idea. I'm sure they were believing in your idea. So you burned $1 million, COVID strikes, not really a good timing. How do you get from there?
So when COVID hit, we were like, okay, what do we do? Salons are closed. We tried to support them with other solutions. So we changed the roadmap, released newsletters, for example, very earlier than we planned. And then salons could communicate with their customers during the lockdowns. They could do drop shipping, or they could sell newsletters that they are selling products and those kind of things. So that helped the salon stay afloat. It helped us kind of stay afloat. And then we were still approaching new salons to say, hey, it might be a good way to go digital when the pandemic is over and things open up again. You'll get a flood of appointments, and it's easier to have them online than to now get your phone when everybody wants to book. Mm-hmm. So we managed to still sign new customers during the lockdown. And then when the lockdowns were over, obviously all the salons that had online bookings, they got a big hit of appointments, and that really helped them being digital instead of being on paper.
And it helped you do your second round.
Yes, and then so we said, okay, now it's time to go even broader then, because at that time we were Luxembourg, Belgium, and Switzerland. We had planned to open the Germany and the Netherlands, so we approached VCs. We said we did it in 3 countries. We also are confident we can do it in 5 countries. We had a couple salons in Germany already again to prove that we can also enter that market. And then we raised 6.2 million to accelerate our expansion.
And that only lasted?
Well, that lasted until recently. So we just closed our Series B now in July this year. So that lasted again like 1.5, 2 years, so basically almost 2 years for the Series B to happen.
And so now you got 28 million.
Yes.
And yeah, I guess now it's about scaling.
Yes.
It's the same software, it's more sales, it's good onboarding, it's good farming.
Yeah.
Business as usual.
I mean, the product will still evolve. We have a big vision on the product, but it's very much operational challenges today. So it's to say, okay, how do you find the people? How do you onboard the people? And then if you have hundreds of new customers coming in, how do you manage that? The invoicing, the preparation of the accounts, the transfer of the data when they had another system. So you see that more the volume goes up, more the operational structure has to evolve also. Mm-hmm. Where things you did manually with 10 contracts a month, you cannot do with 200-300 contracts a month anymore.
Okay, do you see a lot of competition? Do you have a lot of competitors in Paris or Brussels?
So there's competition in every country. We're not the only ones doing that, and I think at the end it's about who manages to build up the best sales structure and have the best product, who will win at the end. I mean, there's probably a couple big ones that will win over Europe. It will not just be one, but every country has like at least 4, 5, 6 different solutions, I think.
Yeah, and it's exciting for investors to dream about an acquisition or being acquired. It's always a good news when there's a lot of competition. Maybe just for the people looking at the video, can you tell us the lessons that you've learned? What would you do different if you were starting all over again with a good idea in 2016?
I think what we did well is we talked to salons very early because we knew that we didn't know anything about it. So that really helped us get the first version of the product right and get into the market, understand it, as opposed to just coding for RIA and realizing that nobody needs what we were thinking of. So I think that we did really well. Maybe if I look back, I would have tried to raise money a bit earlier. We could have been a bit faster there then and maybe gain a couple of months on that side. But other than that, I think I would do it quite similarly.
Okay. So there's a lot of things to learn from this. And again, I think the big picture is that we finally get some heroes in Luxembourg. So I hope that they will start teaching the Salonkee story in schools, at Loft, at Host, because again, there are many startups. It's very difficult. I usually compare it to eating glass for at least 1 or 2 years. And you need to be inspired by a great team, a great strategy to finance, but most importantly, a great implementation. So we will follow Salonkee. Congratulations, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
This love that reaches to my heart feels so